7:30. I'll call the meeting to order. Item number 2, public comment. For anyone who has public comment for items not on the agenda. Seeing none. Number 3, we'll go to a roundtable discussion amongst council. Anybody have anything?
Blight.
Light?
I know this is a bad time of year, but it's gotten
Turn your mic
worse. Oh. I think it's gotten worse. There are probably 4 or 5 places right in my neighborhood that are drastically in need of something. What Jay's been doing is not working. Does anybody else drive around and look at everything? Am I the only one that does that? Evidently.
I see it on my walk in. There's that house on Marshall, near the end of Marshall, almost to 2nd Street there. It's got birds living in it for the last 4 years, probably.
That's not bad. I mean, you should see these homes. They have garbage in their driveway, garbage in their side streets. I mean, it's blowing all over from the wind yesterday.
Oh, I'm with you, Bill. I'm saying, yeah, I
it's,
see it too.
It's horrible, and I don't think what he's doing is not working. Something needs to be done.
Is the comment about birds living in a house on Marshall Street a shot at us?
No, different, literal birds.
Just wanted to
Oh,
clarify.
little pun.
So blight, so Dave, you're noticing more? I mean, I guess I haven't noticed anything more significant, but I'm not in your neighborhood very often. I think I know the house you're talking about on Marshall Street. Because that has been left for quite a while.
Well, the houses that I've seen, Jay has been after them all summer long. Probably last year to begin with. He's abated them, I don't know how many times. They just keep coming back, and it's just worse and worse and worse.
For clarification, Bill, one of those houses, if I'm not mistaken, we've cleaned up twice this summer, correct? Mm-hmm. At the tune of
A third time.
costing the city several $1,000s each time we clean it up. We do, attempt to put those on taxes, which you guys will be approving that in February, right? Is when we bring the single lot assessments back to city council. We hear what you're saying. We can go back to the drawing board to see if there's a different process to correct human beings' behaviors at these houses. I just don't know if there's a process to correct those behaviors.
When we went through, you and I and Parker went around in our drive around, we found 48% of the blight in this community was from rentals. And as soon as that gets going, if it's going to get going, when is that scheduled?
So that is in the process right now. I just had a conversation this afternoon with PCI because one of the landlords paid the registration fee to the city, and the registration fees goes directly to PCI, not to the city. So I have to redirect that check. And I just inquired, where are we with this, And it is a uphill battle with landlords refusing to register. They've done a handful of inspections, and none of the inspections passed on the first time. And what Kirk shared with me, he goes, we are really going to have to take a hard line approach to these property owners.
How is this registration done? We have rentals. I've never been contacted by anybody.
You should have received a letter. So you didn't receive a letter for your rental down there on?
Nope.
Okay.
Next door to me.
Next
nope.
door to you? Okay, I'll look into that one
I
for
don't know
sure.
if Tom did or not for the building either.
Yeah, so all residential properties that don't have 100% PRE, the tax-paying address should have received a letter from us. And we'll look into that, Bill, to see if yours property. For sure, it's not 100% PRE because you don't live in it. But we'll verify that next, for that house next to yours.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all I got to say.
That's it? Dave, anything?
I did notice the little house that's right before the Second Street Bridge. It looks like folks are driving over the sidewalk to get to that. Is there any, what are
Yeah,
we doing for them?
several years ago, before the construction project of that house had its water disconnected permanently. It didn't pass what I would call a basic property maintenance inspection that we did on that structure, because I believe there's a fire next to it or something.
Main structure.
Yeah, the main structure had a fire, and so we just looked at both. And we said, there's no way, it's just not designed for human habitation, so the water was permanently disconnected. And Peter brought it to us that, that someone is living there. The landlord of that property, Mr. Ankoviak, we're having issues with him on another property that he owns. And he moved someone into that structure during our discourse on his other property. So that's gonna be another project where we're gonna have to do an inspection, but with someone living there, we're gonna have to, more or less work through the courts of an government eviction of that house.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, when that construction took place, I asked about that driveway, and it was said that that driveway was removed along with the property owner saying that they
Correct. So
wanted it removed.
when we were doing that construction project, we had our contractors reach out to the property owner, Mr. Ankoviak, to discuss, the house is not habitable. Let's go ahead and let's remove this driveway, because there's no plans to make it habitable. And, there were some concerns from access management, having a driveway with that reduced width road and coming into the Second Street Bridge. Now, if the property owner is holding up that end of the bargain, obviously they're not right now. Is anyone living in the White House next to it? Do you guys know, since you both are neighbors in that area? Is that the house with the birds you're talking about? Okay, that's
The
what I
roof's
thought.
about, totally shot, and the front window's missing.
Front window's missing, no, that one, yeah.
Yes, Ben.
I think that was sold in a tax auction.
But Ankoviak owns that one too,
Yeah,
right?
he bought it in a tax auction, I believe.
Anything else, Dave?
All right now, thanks.
Mike, anything from you?
On top of what Bill said, I see quite a few cars parked in the yards all over town.
Are you referring to front yard parking?
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
We'll go ahead and we'll put a code enforcement on your study session for the 26th. That'll be the only thing on the study session.
okay.
And it'll be right after Christmas, so we'll all be in maybe a good mood or not. But we'll roll up our sleeves and have a serious conversation of what it will take to do appropriate code enforcement in this city.
I think our meeting will be on the 27th, because holiday is 25th and 26th.
Yeah, for city staff it is, but we noticed the meeting at the very beginning of the year that it was the 26th on the public meeting calendar that council approved.
Oh, it's a holiday.
For City Hall it is, staff. If council would like to reschedule to the 27th, we can approach that during comments from council members during the regular meeting.
Okay.
We ran into this issue 2 weeks ago at City Hall when we were planning our Christmas holiday schedules.
All right, Peter, anything?
Nope.
Okay, just quickly, in the next 3 weeks or so, we're gonna be having our first strategic planning meeting. And I feel like because of the holidays and all, I don't put it on you, tend to get caught flat-footed sometimes and not done as much due diligence as I would have preferred. And so, just as I've been having some conversations with different council members, looking at things that I would like us to focus on, I just want to throw those out so that we can all, you're all aware, and then hopefully that might spark some thoughts for you all. So 4 things that I would like us, to see us address in our strategic planning and in the next year is HDC, and specifically getting that survey, inventory survey done, so that we can actually have a conversation about so we understand what we mean when we say the historic district and what we're trying to preserve. And that we've got a grant that's available to us until February, and if I would hate for us to miss out on that, we can use that grant to help.
What grant's available to us?
There is a grant through the Michigan Historic, what's the,
Are you referencing the CLG grants? The Certified Local Government grants?
Thought there
I
Yeah.
was,
don't know if it's a CLG
I
grant.
think David mentioned some possible grants for doing that survey.
Right.
I think that's what we got.
Yeah, so those CLG grants are not available to, those are competitive grants. So we can apply for them, but
Right.
they're not on a plate waiting for us to grab.
Right, I mean, most
Okay.
grants are competitive. So, yeah, but I don't want us to talk about it in March and say, oh, gosh, we should have applied for that. So, because that would at least help us understand where we're at with that. The second thing we're talking about tonight, the Trestle Bridge. We need to make some hard decisions about the Trestle Bridge and start to put a plan in place of probably replacing it. I think replacing it over repairing it is probably the right choice at this point, so that we can have people be safe and allow boats probably to pass underneath it. So we need to do something about the Trestle Bridge, the dam improvements, which we're also discussing tonight, just to make sure that we are safe until whenever this dam gets removed. We want to make sure that we don't cause any kind of issues or endanger anybody downriver from us. And then the fourth thing, as I've mentioned before, is I want us to take up the issue of water as a human right and not allow water shutoffs, so that, because water is essential for life, and I think to take that away is violating human rights. So I would like us to have that conversation on what that looks like, and how we fund it, how we can look at other municipalities and see how they've handled it, but those, I want us to have the conversation. And that's it. So, hopefully that resonates with some of you, and if not, we can go back and forth on it, and maybe that brings up some other issues that you guys might want to talk about, but I just wanted to throw those out there. Good. All right. All right. If there's nothing else on that for the roundtable discussion, number 4, a discussion regarding the future use of the Girl Scout property. Joel, assuming you're taking this.
Yep, very quickly, I'll just do the introduction. About a couple of weeks ago, I was approached by James Carwile of JC Custom Outsourcing. Joe Leverence introduced us, and James was interested in what it would take for him to acquire the Girl Scout property and do a development up there. James, feel free to come up to the podium. City Council, in your packet, you received the memo as well as communication from James. That was the second page of that memo I sent you. James, feel free to introduce yourself to council and share your vision.
Council members, Mr. Mayor, my name is James Carwile. I'm CEO of JC Custom Outsourcing. And tonight's conversation was going to be our formal interest in the development of a tiny home community for senior citizens and veterans in the Girl Scout area. Just really don't know what you need from me. Just wanted to move forward in any type of manner that we can, what I needed to know. And just would like to move forward to help the community in any way that we possibly could. So,
Anybody have any questions?
Well, first of all, we have, as a council, discussed having development of some sort in that property. So you coming forward was exciting to me to see that there was interest for that. And especially for an older population. And we have made some changes to our zoning to allow for smaller footprints of homes. So have you done any other developments? Is there?
we have quite an extensive field in construction and fabrication, landscaping, and our team members as well have proven track records for development of different communities, industrial and residential. So we have quite the team to put together to be able to make a project like this come to fruition.
James, is this a project that you would sell the homes or rent the homes?
Well, we would look to rent the homes to the community as more of like a Section 8 or subsidized living, you know, to make it easy on the community themselves. And then it would also allow us to sustain the area in a immaculate manner. You know, we have a level of expectancy for the properties to look and be maintained in a certain manner.
Okay.
I had another quick question, I'm sorry. I had seen in your, basically your memo to staff that you would be interested in doing some trails. Now, is that something that would be open to the public as well? Because we do have a group of public that like to go out and walk that area, and just wondering if that would be something that there could be a section that was available, or if that whole property would still be available.
That discussion could absolutely be entertained, you know, be a section to the community, because we want to be a part of the entire community, bring it together. So there could be private and public. It's in early development, so discussion could be moved forward.
Yeah, we have a Public Spaces Commission for the city, and Mr. Morgan here sits on that as a liaison for city council. And I know that they had been approached by a community member for taking a tour out there and kind of looking at keeping some of that as a preserve, almost as a nature
It's
preserve.
beautiful, scenic area, and I would like to do the same.
Yeah,
Just,
so if
keep it,
that could be something that could be discussed, that would be wonderful.
absolutely.
Well, Allegan needs housing 100%. That has been a discussion for us for years. And as a tiny house enthusiast myself and a veteran, and it was a little disconcerting to see 55 and senior citizen put in, linked together, considering I just celebrated my 56th birthday. But I take it for what it is. You know, I fit into all those categories. I'm very excited about the potential of it, and I've seen other examples of tiny house communities around the country, and I love the idea. And one question I had, it says affordable, and I hear affordable often, and then I look at the price tag and I think that's affordable to a certain section of our society, but not to most people. So when you say affordable, are we really looking at affordable housing?
Well, so with affordable housing, that's why we're looking to gear toward the Section 8s and the government grants for the retired veterans and the senior citizens and work for it. And it would be like almost how Bridgeport is set up, you know what I mean? For that, most of it would be government grants like that, so that the person that actually lives in the parcel, it's affordable to them. You know, all income-based. And, well, if it's Section 8 and government funded, then the generated revenue is almost always going to be there, you know?
Yeah. All right.
Yes, sir.
Anything else for James? No? Well, thank you for coming. I'm excited to see this and where it's going to head and how we can work together.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, counsel. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Thanks. All right. Item number 5, a discussion regarding the potential permanent combination of Allegan's election precincts. Ms. Michaela?
Yes, I'll take this one. So, given the recent redistricting that we just did of our election precincts to kind of bring them in balance, I was made aware by Allegan County that we are a good candidate to possibly just combine both election precincts permanently, which is something that we've done in the past for certain elections. And basically, that would just bring everyone from precinct 2 into precinct 1, and we would just have one precinct. And based on the number of registered voters that we have, the bill that was just passed in July that allows a larger precinct capacity allows for 5,000 registered voters. And we sit kind of comfortably where we're not really we're not in danger of hitting that 5,000 mark for the number of registered voters in the city. So I just wanted to bring this before council so that you could consider possibly allowing the election commission to pass a resolution to permanently combine the election precincts. Administration-wise for elections, it'll simplify the process a lot. Rather than having two ballot styles that are essentially the same, I'll only have one ballot style, so everyone will get the same type of ballot. And yeah, does anyone have any questions?
Would we then be down to one check-in table?
So we could have multiple check-in tables, but we would only have one tabulator. So that would be how that would work.
Because that was my larger concern with turnout, especially in, like next year, the turnout's gonna be probably high again.
Sure.
And if we don't have enough, if we reduce ourselves down to like one check-in, we already have a harder time with just the end balance. And I was like happy that we were gonna be balanced this year and hopefully have both tables operating and splitting it up nicely to get the voters through quickly.
Sure. And I'm also anticipating that the 9 days of consecutive early voting prior to each election, that will kind of help as well. Because I have quite a few voters that come in interested in early voting prior to it being allowed. And I would have to tell them that I could give them an absentee ballot, but they wouldn't be able to feed it into the tabulator themselves, which was primarily what they were interested in doing. So those voters would end up just coming on election day anyway. But now that we're going to be able to offer the early voting, I think that will also help with numbers on election day.
Are we gonna be required for our community size for all 9 days? I know I don't know what the bill came out to, if it required all communities.
Yes, it requires at least 9 consecutive days, with the 9th day being the Sunday before the election. So it will be 2 weekends and then the week in between.
Now, the staffing for that, or is that gonna be same hours?
So we have submitted our voting plan to the county, and we'll be open from 8:30 to 4:30, just trying to keep it consistent with the hours that City Hall's normally open. And then there will have to be 3 election inspectors. That's just a requirement by law. And those election inspectors don't necessarily have to be the same every single day, but we will have to make sure that we have myself and 3 election inspectors on premises during those hours.
And was the cost being borne by the state, if I remember right?
Yes, there are funds to reimburse. They've said at least for the presidential primary, but they're hoping to do more.
So after that, we're gonna be on our own for it?
So far, that's what I'm hearing until I hear different. Yeah.
Not what I was told during the signing of the petition. So that's one of my concerns, because I've also seen that election workers' cost is going up significantly. Kalamazoo is offering quite a large amount of money, and it's gonna be fairly competitive, especially having 9 days. I'm just concerned if we're gonna have enough staff, enough people volunteer. So anybody out there, please volunteer. Well, not volunteer, you can get paid. Come take the training.
So Saturday and Sunday, we'll have staff to cover it. we have enough staff that live in the city limits that we can, and you don't have to be a city resident to be election inspector. So we put that plan together. We're gonna be, we're gonna cover it the Monday through Friday. We're gonna have enough staff as well. We're gonna offer it to our election inspectors if they wanna volunteer or be part of that, weekend stuff. We'll be open to that to relieve some staff costs, but we're confident and comfortable in the direction we're going with this. What we need to know is this something that council would want us to entertain and go after, or are you comfortable with the 2 precinct?
Last question would be, if we leave it at 2 precincts, is it only 3 inspectors we still need during early voting? Or
No,
it
we would
be
actually have to have 6, yes.
That's, my biggest concern is just making sure we also have enough tables for check-in. I don't want to see it reduced down to 1.
Sure.
Because I've seen the presidential election and it gets pretty busy, especially in the evening.
And notably, Allegan Township, they have very similar population numbers and number of registered voters to the city. And they recently just passed a resolution themselves to combine their precincts. So Allegan Township only has 1 precinct now.
So with with them combining, you said that it allows us a savings in a reduction of the number of election inspectors. So the issues that, the issues that have come up, the accusations that have come up in the last couple of election cycles, how do we, with less election inspectors, maintain our election integrity?
Well, we just keep up our proper training and try to do, voter outreach and voter education as much as possible. And I encourage people to ask questions. If anyone has any questions about elections, I'm always happy to have that conversation.
And so with 3 election inspectors, you're comfortable and confident that those inspectors can watch over, make sure everything's done
Well,
properly?
notably, that's just a minimum requirement by law. So depending on, how many people I see coming in for early voting or how many absentee ballots I've received, I can kind of gauge how many people I might have on election day. And I like to use numbers from past years to kind of compare how many people we typically have show up, so.
Okay. Anything else from anyone on this?
I was just gonna say, I would be in support of doing the 1 precinct. I was very much excited that we were redistricting because having worked the last election and seeing just the huge difference in the number of voters that were coming in. I agree with Peter, though, we'll definitely need more than 1, maybe 2 or 3 tables because you're not gonna have that demarcation then. So maybe 3 inspectors during that week when it's gonna be slower, but absolutely. Yeah, and Roger, I would just say, having gone through the training from last year, I would highly recommend anyone take that to just see what all goes into an election and how it is tracked. It's really, it was astounding to me to see all of the safeguards that are put into place. So even if you don't want to be an election inspector, if you go through that training just to understand that process, I would highly recommend people do that. But yeah, I'm in favor.
Good. I am as well. So, anyone else? How are we feeling about this idea?
I would prefer to probably wait till after this cycle, personally. Only thing that I'm concerned is, I'd just prefer to wait till after the cycle, see how it kind of goes with the new law, because we haven't gone through an election with the pre-voting yet. Although I am also concerned then we would need 6 inspectors during that 9 days.
Mm-hmm.
So. It's debatable. It could go either way. It doesn't, I just want to make sure during the election that we have more than 3 on election day, I think especially. But it really does come down to, like you're saying, if you're seeing how many absentees have already been received and how many early voting throughout the week, you can gauge the maximum crowd size can only be this. If if we've already got 3,000 votes in before, then, yeah, the day of election isn't gonna be that busy. So, I could go either way. It's, you know, the worst that happens if we don't like it, I guess we redivide into precincts as drawn currently.
Yep, that would also be an option.
Excuse me, I've always been one to keep it simple. And by having one precinct, it is simple. And I think, other than the check-in, I was here when they were rounded out there, and that was kind of frustrating to the workers as well as to the people in line.
And it's very frustrating for voters when they've been in a long line and they get to the front of the line and discover that they've been waiting in the wrong line the entire time.
But you're
So-
aware of that, Michaela, so I'm all set. That wasn't gonna happen the next time, so.
Teresa, anything from you?
I'm in favor of the one precinct. It only sounds simpler to me.
Mike,
I'm in favor of the one.
Dave?
Seems to make sense, yeah.
All right,
Okay,
good direction for you.
yep. The Election Commission has the authority to make this change, so we'll just call a meeting of the Election Commission to go ahead and get that resolution passed then, and then I can send that over to the county.
Great. All right. Item number 6, discussion regarding use of the city hall basement. Joel?
Sure, very quickly, as council's well aware, when we moved into this building in 2019, the goal was to lease out additional space. We've been successful in leasing out the office space on the first floor here, and that has been paying us rent. We have struggled, though, to get people to reestablish offices in the basement, even though they were offices prior to us securing this building and rehabbing it. Previously this year, we've talked about the idea of creating personal storage lockers down there, 10-foot by 10-foot. What would that look like? Ryan Berza worked with straight line fencing to get a quote down here. It's roughly 40 grand to create 20 10 by 10 storage units. Some will be a little bigger than 10 by 10, but 10 by 10 was the minimal level they would have. And we estimate that we could generate anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 a year in rent, if they're full throughout this process. So really, the ball is kind of in council's court. Do you want us to continue going down this path? Or would you rather us just kind of still try to market it to people who want to build out an office space in a lower level of City Hall?
Anyone have any thoughts?
Well, one thing, renting it out as office space has not worked out. So it's still sitting there empty. This would be, hopefully, usable.
Yeah.
So, sounds like a good idea to me.
What's the breakdown on the per year rental of this? Because I'm trying to make sense of that. Because it's at 7,000 to 10,000 a year on 20 units.
That is, I believe, and I'm going to just try to call from the back of my head instead of doing math real quick. I think we had these there around $60 a square foot or $60 a unit. It's climate controlled. It's card accessed. What we did is we looked at what you're getting for a climate controlled unit out at Allegan U Store. We took their square footage, we took our square footage, we're a % less than what theirs is. And so we just multiplied what their monthly rent was by that % less to get our number.
When I looked through that, I didn't see a number. How much per space were you going to rent at?
So the last paragraph of the staff report it states, while a more in-depth cost analysis is needed, it is possible that we can generate anywhere from 7 to 10.
saw that part, but how much per individual?
We don't know. That, the phrase, while more in-depth cost analysis is needed. But before we dove headfirst into all of that planning and, review, we really needed to have a conversation with council on, is this even a viable direction for us to go? The straight line fencing is $39,950. We would have to install some security cameras down there, looking at what security cameras cost us for other areas in City Hall and on the riverfront. We're looking at about an additional $4,000 in security cameras in that basement. The good thing is we have all the infrastructure, so it's just the camera that has to plug in. We don't need a DVR or anything like that.
I would be, if for you to give us a final figure, for what you, approximation,
Sure.
I mean, for the cost.
Yep. And I can direct staff and we could tackle this. I just wanted to make sure you guys are okay with us
And
going.
how many units there would be total and
Yeah.
figure out.
It's 20, right? 20 units.
Yep, 20 is what they quoted.
And they're all 10 by 10, right? There's no larger units.
Each unit will be a minimum of 10 by 10, with others a bit larger based on the layout of the basement.
But there won't be any cost increase for the larger ones, or will there?
Well, there would be,
potentially? Yeah.
yes. And then we'd have to deal with, like, as you can see in that picture there, we dropped outlets. So there are outlets. My recommendation is we would just box those off, because we don't want to risk electrical fire of some kind if someone has a duct taped extension cord in their storage unit or something like that. We require that everyone have, rentals insurance and carry the city's additional insured. The basement is fully sprinkled. As you can see in that picture, that's what that black pipe is at the top of this, right beneath the rafters. So it's designed it's designed to be able to accommodate this kind of use. The city currently leases 36 T-hangers and 2 box hangers and 1 ground lease out at the airport. So it's in our bailiwick to, be a landlord per se, in addition to the 2 we have here at City Hall. So we can pull this off. It's just once we go this route, the basement will be a climate-controlled storage unit for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. I think that rent's a little low on the climate-controlled part of it.
Sure.
I do
It's
too.
actually cheaper per
Yep.
month than non-climate controlled up
Yeah,
at the
that-
used store.
Yep.
It's cheaper than what I'm paying at the used store for.
Excellent, then we can raise the rates, I have no problem doing that. I will point back though to the last sentence, it needs a full business analysis. This is something we just wanted to get in front of council for this evening before we continue this conversation.
And I think when we had this discussion the first time, it was first brought up, with the growing number of residents we have downtown, I think that this is a no-brainer. I think it's a great use. I think we'll sell those 20 spots pretty quickly, so.
All right, we'll go ahead and we'll sharpen our pencils and bring back an actual program for council to review in the next meeting or two.
Anybody else have anything? I didn't mean to jump in. All good? All right. Number 7, discussion regarding public art installations in City Hall and at the Griswold Auditorium.
All right, for about the past year, year and a half, I've been engaged with a couple members of the Arts Council to get more art in Allegan. That conversation has blossomed between, my office and Paulette Carr, who owns Brave Art Studio off of M40, M89, heading out of town towards Holland. And so Paulette's on the Arts Council. She's worked with Judy McCall, who's also on the Arts Council, and has developed a proposal for us to display art in our public buildings. By public buildings, I mean our City Hall and the Griswold Auditorium. So Paulette, if you want to come up to the podium, I'll let you share your vision.
Thank you all for listening to me tonight. This is not my comfort zone, so bear with me. My passion is to bring art into our communities. In bringing art into our public spaces here in City Hall, especially at this time in Allegan's history. As you're improving your cityscapes and you're bringing in new businesses and everything, Saugatuck Arts is on the decline. Let's fill that void. $2 billion in art sales are going on in Michigan. $4 billion are going on in the United States. So that means there's a lot going on just here in Michigan. Why isn't Allegan getting a lot of it? Because your artists don't have a place to exhibit. So if we bring art into our public spaces here, right here in City Hall, we start to become an art destination. So our first proposal here is to do art here in City Hall and in the Griswold. The Arts Council has agreed to pay for the hanging system to go up there. Tim and I, my husband Tim, have agreed that we will curate that. We will make sure that the art that goes out is representative of our community, that is family-friendly, that it is art-forward and developmental. So you have my proposal. So if you have any questions, what can I help you with?
Anyone?
I have no questions. I have a comment. Thank you. It sounds wonderful. You go into a hospital, you see art all over the walls, so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. This is a far nicer thing than some of the hospitals that this art's in. So I appreciate that very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you. I do curate art for Holland Hospital.
Well,
But
I guess I said it incorrectly.
No, I understand what you're saying, though, is a lot of times we get into these public spaces like the hospital, and they're exhibiting art from other areas. We have so many artists here
do.
that we don't even know about. So I'm working with the Arts Council to make art more accessible here, to make sure that you know artists, that you know your artists are part of your economy now, not just that they're creating and, oh, look, Mom created this cute thing. Well, Mom probably created this really nice thing, and you're just recognizing it as something cute because it's your mom. But let's get Mom's stuff on the walls. Let's get that new art. Let's get that new generation of artists out. You know, when you said about, you know, I identify as that 55 and that veteran, well, I'm a senior citizen. I have had the chance to create an art community that I wanted. But what I want to do is create an art community that's going to grow into the next generation. And your city can do that. You're at a crucial point right now that you can make a difference in the art world, in your community. I'm a little passionate, sorry.
Not a problem.
Well, I was just gonna also,
wonderful.
yeah, mimic what Councilmember Morgan said, is thank you. I know how very involved you guys have been in the community since you got here. I've seen it, I think a lot of us has noticed it. You've done your plein air, like on the riverfront, at the cemetery, all over. And you did the Benefit for Ukraine, which I attended, and all of that art was just wonderful. So thank you for everything that you have done for the community already. I'm in full support of this. I think it's a wonderful idea. I did just have a question that, is it only limited to members of the Allegan Area Arts Council then?
I think
or-
we will start out that
Okay.
way. I think that we have 108 members
Oh,
to the
goodness,
Arts
okay.
Council. And I think that once we get things moving and they have a place to exhibit their art, I think that we will grow that number, and it will bring artists from other communities also into Allegan.
And that's actually what I was gonna say, is that partnership there may bring more people into the Arts Council, which is beneficial for that group too. So, yeah, I'm in full support. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Only thing I have of concern would be the railing system and how it's written that it's gonna be returned to the Arts Council. If it doesn't work out, I would like an option for the city to purchase it if you have the cost for it. If it didn't work out, because the Griswold, I really don't wanna go and install on the historic plaster walls and then necessarily tear it off, because the city can also use the same hanging system for other art in the future, and wouldn't make sense for it to just rip it off the walls and have to fix the walls.
Well, I think that the Arts Council was concerned because they had paid for a hanging system in the Griswold before, and it's not there anymore. So they're like, well, you know, if we're gonna pay for it again, let's make sure that if it goes down, it comes to us. And that's where they say if it doesn't work out. If the city decides that they don't longer want to exhibit in the Griswold, and they wanna take that down, then the Arts Council would like to have that back.
Well, that's why I said it could also just be an option, we would buy it. That's what just like literally in the contract, in the agreement, just tell a number what it's gonna be, and then it's like, well, now we gotta pay the Arts Council for their hanging system, because we're taking it out, or this program's no longer in effect.
Okay,
I'd rather do that almost so that the Arts Council doesn't feel like we, tore it down and they put it in and they paid for it. They should be reimbursed for it if that's the case.
I
have
think
no issue
that's
with it.
fair enough, and
Yeah.
I think that's something that I'll definitely bring to them, and
Yeah.
I just think that because they put the money into it before, they feel like, we're putting the money into it now, if you're gonna take it down, give it back to us. So I had a little bit of a discussion with them about that.
I know the fun of putting those rail systems on plaster walls, it's not a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So
finding
we're
the studs.
looking at also that artists have to carry their insurance, so it's not going to be a liability for the city to have to worry about if something gets damaged or whatever, because the city cannot insure what does not belong to them, nor can the Arts Council. So that will be written into a contract that the artist has to take care of that. So they exhibit at their own risk. It must be family-friendly. If they sell a piece of art and they replace it with something, it has to go through the curator so that we don't have a surprise that, oops, that doesn't belong in a city place. So those are things that we're looking at as well.
My one question in here, is the thought that it's the system, the hanging system will be down the hallway? Is that where?
Yes,
Yeah.
from the windows over here
Okay,
along that
that's kind of
long
where I
wall.
was picturing it. Yeah, I'm fully in favor of this. I love the opportunity for us to have more art. I think the more art, the better, and I love that it'll be here in City Hall and in the Griswold, so.
And if there's other places that you would like to see art placed, I mean, I'm thinking, for me, I don't know about the Arts Council, but for me, I'm thinking this is phase one. So if there are more public spaces that the city is looking at including art in, let me know, because I will advocate for art in public spaces till the cows come home.
The library would be good, but we don't have control over that, so you'd have to go talk to their.
I've been having conversation about
All right.
that, because it was empty for so long.
Well,
But-
I was just thinking, I would love to see, a sculpture or something like that, or the sports complex,
Oh.
that would be a
Oh, that'd be awesome.
possible.
I will make note of that.
Good.
All right.
Anything else for Paulette? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
All right, number 8, discussion regarding the development agreement with Joe and Deb Leverence.
So I'm going to invite Joe up to the podium. Very quickly, council, in your packet was a draft agreement for purchase and development for Pingree Park. We've discussed this a couple times now at city council, and Joe Leverence is at a point now where he's ready to move forward and make some more significant progress on this project.
Good evening, my council members, and our new mayor. So yeah, I've made significant progress. I'm ready to move forward with applying to Eagle for my permits. And one of the things that slowed me down a little bit, there was a little confusion about a piece of the property, whether or not it was part of this. And so that's been kind of worked out now, so we're ready to move forward. I'm very anxious to get in on it. I've had to make, numerous changes, because this is kind of a fly by the seat of your pants. So originally, the plan was I was gonna bring the entrance in down along the water treatment facility. Unfortunately, that end of the old road has the nicest wetlands in that area. So even though it might be easier for me to come in because it's nice and flat there, I think Eagle will probably disagree with me as that being the best place. And I kind of agree that that's probably a nice area to leave it alone. The other area would be up at the, I guess you'd say the northwest end, coming in off of the old, or the existing South Main Street. So I would have to create a grade there, and there is a wetlands right at the base of that, right at the upper right-hand corner. But that's, I'm gonna call it a trash wetland. It is full of brick, cinder block, broken up stone. I've seen pieces of pipes, there's tires in there, It's just a little junkyard that I will have to clean up. And so I would, prefer them to come in that way. Also, I discovered, I had misread the utilities map, and I had thought that the closest way to get sewer off the island was coming in down to the bottom of Park Street. But it turns out that the sewer is right there at the end of Main Street, South Main Street. So it'll be a lot easier for me to get the sewer from that end. And the water will then come from that end. So if everything's coming from that end, I might as well bring the entrance in from that end too. So I gotta kind of rework my whole business plan and my site plan, but it's moving forward and it all looks good and I'm very excited for it. So. If anybody has any questions.
Yeah. Anyone?
So at this time, what you're looking for is just exclusive right to buy this land for a period of time?
At this time, I'm looking to actually have a development agreement and a purchase agreement with the city.
Okay.
Because the next stages, right now I'm into this for probably about $5,000, maybe a little bit more. When I go to get my survey done, that's gonna be another $4,500 to $5,000 for the survey. I got quite a bit of money going in for the permits. So I'm gonna need some commitment that you're willing to sell this to me. So, yes.
So in the packet that is attached to this report is the real estate purchase and development agreement. It's approximately 5 pages, it looks to be. It's our typical development agreement that we enter into developers when they're acquiring city property. It has the purchase price there under Section 1, purchase and sale. I don't know if the city's ever utilized this property for any kind of city purposes. So you'll see we're putting a purchase price in there of $1. It talks about title insurance, that the buyer is solely responsible for title insurance. The closing would just probably be a quick claim deed is what we would do. It identifies the timing for closing on the back, where we have to close by July 1st, 2024. So it gives Mr. Leverence 6 months to get his stuff in order to do the closing with the city. And then the construction obligations, which is Section 10. It mentions that he has until July 1st, 2029, so that's a 5-year period, to construct the necessary site infrastructure and completing of at least one dwelling unit. And Mr. Leverence had the opportunity to review this agreement last Thursday?
Yep.
Was it? And he made a couple of changes that we included in this document. And so, council, if you're okay moving forward still with this, our intent would be to bring this to your next meeting, December 20-something, after Christmas. Something out there. So it's important that tonight, if you have questions about this agreement that was sent to you on Thursday, that we discuss those tonight. We can still hash stuff out between now and the end of December. But, I think tonight we owe it to Mr. Leverence to, share, any concerns council may have with this, if you do have concerns. Again, this property, Joe, you've met Eagle out there.
Yes,
They walked the site with you.
yes.
To my surprise, they said, yeah, this project can work. I thought for sure Joe's project was gonna die at the Eagle, decision-making board, but I was wrong on that. Like I said from day one, if anyone's gonna be able to pull a project like this off, it will be the people that redeveloped the Baker, art loft studio, whatever you wanna call it down there, that beautiful building, so. Again, council, it's important that if you have reservations tonight is when we really should be sharing those reservations, so we can iron that stuff out between now and the end of December. It will be staff's recommendation that we move forward with this.
Anyone have any misgivings?
I don't have any misgivings. I do appreciate that there is that clawback in there with that 5 years. So that's something that I know we've done on other property sales, so I was happy to see that that was included, but I'm looking forward to it. So
Yeah.
very excited that it worked with Eagle, because I know that there was some concern even from your end.
I took your comments to heart last time, that you would like to have seen a bigger development, and I had shared my vision with James and some of his other people there, who were very inspired by my plan and my idea. And while I can't afford to do both, I would love to be in with those guys, but I can't. But they're more than capable of pulling off the other one, and I would love to see it. As you said, you wanted to see, some reasonably accessible housing for our seniors and for our veterans and stuff, and so these are cool things that are happening, that are really gonna be happening right as Allegan is coming into, a new era. The downtown is beautiful, we're talking about bringing art in, it's really turning out to be an amazing community, which I thought back in 2008, so, 2006, actually. So, yeah, I'm very anxious to move forward with this.
Yeah.
Only other thing I could think of is you might want to review, I don't know what would happen for fire access, for fire trucks and the like, if it was an actual residential, so you might want to review some of the fire code and check with the chief and see.
Well, I've emailed the chief, who never responded to me, but
Go maybe the state board.
I'm planning on building a 20-foot wide roadway down there, and I'm looking into probably not a fire hydrant, because that requires an 8-inch main, which would cost me almost the entire project. But I could bring in a 4-inch and have what they call a pipe service, where you have a 4-inch pipe come up with 2 hose connections on it. So that I could probably do, bring that in, off of, what is that, Grand Street, and bring that right on down. So yeah, I'm looking at fire safety as well. That was high on my list.
Great. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you,
We're
guys.
excited to see what you're gonna do.
Awesome.
Thank you, good luck.
Good luck. All right, item number 9, review of council agenda. We have any changes or anything anyone sees? All right, then at 6:27, I will adjourn, and we will reconvene back here at 7 PM for our regular meeting. 7 o'clock. We will call the meeting to order. Joel, can I get a roll call, please?
How about if we let the city clerk do that?
Oh,
Yep, I can
sorry.
take it.
That's right. Michaela, you want to do the roll call?
Sure. Councilmember Redding,
Here?
Councilmember Zeter,
Present.
Councilmember Morgan,
Present?
Councilmember Andrus,
Here.
Councilmember Galloway,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hanse,
Present.
and Mayor Byrd.
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right, now, for those who wish to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 4A, approval of a regular council meeting agenda for December 11th, 2023. Are there any changes?
Motion to approve?
Support.
It has been moved and supported. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Item 5A, approval of the study session meeting minutes from November 27th, 2023 council meeting.
I move we approve the study session meeting minutes.
Support?
It's been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Abstain.
Motion passes. 5B, approval of the regular meeting minutes from November 27th, 2023 council meeting.
I make a motion to approve as presented.
Support?
It has been moved and supported. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Abstain.
And then item 8A, a public hearing and adoption of resolution 23.39 to approve an industrial facility tax certificate for Advanced Architectural Products LLC at 959 Industrial Drive.
So I will do a quick introduction of this item, then I'll invite the applicants to the podium to give an overview of their investment and their request. So Advanced Architectural Products is a manufacturing firm located out in the industrial park. They are requesting that the city grant a P-198 tax abatement for 12 years on an investment that they are going to be making out in that industrial park at their site. The investment is $915,000. Will be a 1,500 square foot loading dock and a conversion build out of approximately 3,700 square feet of existing manufacturing warehouse space to office space out there. So with that, if the applicants want to come up and give a little more oversight of their project, feel free.
Well, I guess I'll give the overview and you
I can answer it.
answer any particulars. Okay. Hello. So we're, yes, so we're doing a airlock for our building so that we're anticipating when we start doing heavier manufacturing, we have to have a climate-controlled environment. So, you know, when we open up the doors, we don't want all the heat and moisture to leave or whatever. So it's a loading dock, so semis can come in, we can put it in there, seal it up, and then open up the rest of the building and bring it in. So it's just the next step that we need to do as we're scaling our building there. I think that's basically it. I don't know if you guys have any other questions, but
Does anyone have any questions?
A 12-year abatement, did we do away with that, Joel?
No, for PA 198's 12-year is a common abatement. What you might be referring to, Mike, is the Oprah program, which used to be 12-year, and now Oprah maxes out at 10, and we have a point system for that, but nothing for our, manufacturers.
Anything else? I saw that the estimate on the ending of the construction is 2025, is that right? When the second phase will be done?
Yes, the truck dock will be done early 2024, but we've also got expanding the parking lot and a couple follow-on projects. But the majority will be done in 2024.
Great. All right, so we need, this is a public hearing, so we're gonna open. Do you gentlemen wanna stay? You could probably take your seats.
Great,
So,
thanks.
yeah, thank you very much. We'll open our public hearing at 7:05. Anyone who would like to speak on this can approach the podium. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing at 7:05. And so we are now, we need a motion on this?
Yeah, you need to adopt a resolution.
Adopting a resolution. So can I get a motion?
I move we adopt resolution 23.39.
I'll support.
It has been moved and supported. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay? Ayes have it. All right, moving on to item 9, public comment. Public comment for anyone who, any items that are not on the agenda.
I'm gonna surprise you all. That's why I came first. I'm still coming here to this meeting to get my point across about my identity being stolen by Danielle Bird, who used it without my permission. Danielle Bird is a city employee. She did not have permission to turn on service at 217 Lincoln in my name. No matter what you may think of me or how you may ignore what I say, that is identity theft. If it had happened to any one of y'all that's sitting up there with a title in front of your name, you would be just as upset and pissed as I am. The accountability should have been an apology for the identity theft. And since it wasn't done proper and in order per your ordinance, which says it's my responsibility, and if I don't have it turned on, I get fined and assessed per, what's his name right there? Let me keep him. So therefore, since it's Danielle Bird's fault and the City of Allegan mistake, it's not I should not be held accountable for it. So my RTS fee should be squashed until I get my water turned on, because that house is not set up for water. Deeper than that, you guys had 40 or so shut-off notices go out, and as soon as they went out, you guys had a discussion about shut-off notices. To use Teresa's words, you're gonna open up a can of worms. Because once you squash shut-off notices, people are gonna feel they don't have to pay their bills. But you as a committee as a whole, you can save people $295.28 right now with a clean stroke of a vote. Squash your RTS fees to quarterly. Pay your water bill quarterly. And then they won't have to pay $442.92 yearly. It will automatically go down to $147.64. You guys heard about the incident out in the hallway. You noticed, right? Somebody else would address that. I've had the police call to my house on numerous occasions, to my home and my house, because of your city manager, and this is why. He's trying to keep me silent about the alleged sexual harassment allegation that he has. People don't speak up for it because they're gonna lose their job. This is why he's trying to bar me out of these meetings and everything else. This is why I have you guys doing this dirty work. Don't wait 6 months from right now, or a year from right now, and find out that the black man was telling you the truth. All right? I have not lied to this committee about nothing. Nothing. You guys just don't like the way I say it. I choose not to say it this time. I didn't say it 2 weeks ago. I still got kicked in my teeth for it. I laugh about it. You guys don't realize we have something in common. You guys saying you don't have nothing in common with me. Oh, yes, you do. You guys saying to yourself, we can't stand him. Sometimes I can't stand myself either. You guys went in the back room and made a policy or whatever. Maybe you guys should go back in the back room again and do the right thing. Have a nice day.
Anyone else for public comment?
Hi, my name's Sherry Schultz, and Mark, Heather, and I, we did the fundraiser at the Griswold a week ago Saturday. I think you were there. And it was, we showed the movie It's a Wonderful Life, audience participation, which is hard to explain, but it was fun. I think you had a good time. So I just wanted to express on Mark, Heather, and myself, and the over 100 people that showed up, that it was a great, fun time. We raised over $2,600 for Wings of Hope Hospice. Mark and I paid for all the expenses, so every dime that someone contributed went to Wings. Just so you know, in case you don't know, Wings of Hope Hospice, they provide end-of-life care, and the cost is for this end-of-life care is about $155 a day. Insurance usually covers it, but hospice never charges anyone. They don't turn anyone away. So it's a really great organization for our community. I don't know if you know that the Wonderful Life audience participation movie, actually, we got the idea from Music Box Theater in Chicago. They've been doing it for decades. And for 15 years, we talked about doing it, and we finally did it. So it brings, in Chicago, it brings people from all over the region, and that's kind of our goal, is to do this every year and to make it bigger and bigger. So kind of a little preface, we're hoping to do it November 23rd next year. We conflicted with the Big Ten football championship, so we heard quite a few people didn't come because Michigan played that night, and it was also conflicting with Camp Kidwell, their fundraiser. So we're thinking the week before Thanksgiving it'll kick off. So you'll probably see us again. We're hoping that the council will be kind enough to discount the rental for the Griswold again like they did this year. We paid for the staffing for the soundboard, which, by the way, Ryan Berza did an amazing job. He was wonderful to work for. He's a great asset for the city. So I think the process is we've got to come back, get on the agenda and ask for that. So just kind of sticking it out there, and again, saying thank you. If you didn't go this year, you need to go next year, because it was fun. Would you come again? It was fun. So thank you again very much.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment?
Good evening, council. I just got a piece of paper. I won't come up past the podium. Hello, everybody. Glad to see your faces. Glad we're all woke up this morning. That just makes me a reminder, God is good. And we should be thankful because we're above ground, not below. Someone didn't wake up this morning, but just think about all the goodness that God has done for us. It's just a little reminder. Ronald Jones received a coin policy. It was not signed nor dated. It just says effective immediately. Immediately from when? I wasn't here at first when he brought the coins that were rolled down here. They asked for his name, phone number, and address, I believe. I believe some of them, in their eyes, some of them wasn't legible to read, so he went back and rewrote it. I don't know who the employee was, but at first she said, we don't accept coins. I've never, one time, that was in Vegas, I've never been anywhere where no one does not accept cash. A coin to me is still cash. But with this policy, it just led for a lot of things to open up. It says unrolled coin will only be accepted in equal to or less than the quantities listed above. I guess I don't understand it. It says 50 cents and pennies, so I can only bring 50 cents and pennies, period, no extra, no, nothing. Just clarification on that. I don't know what's going on, but I know we can. I know we can. I know it's been a long road, but that's when we got to work a little bit harder, you know. And we're not alone. We got someone who's watching out for us, who can lead us to the answers, whatever those answers may be. But I know we can do it. This is Allegan. Y'all spent all that money on making it fabulous. Let's be fabulous. You know, let's put smiles on our faces. Let's just be kind to each other and find another way, any way, so you don't have to see Mr. Jones no more. That's something to celebrate, I bet. Anyways, I'm not even really sure what to say, except I'll be a part if you like. We gotta do something, because this is, the way we've been going at it, it's not working. Every other week, the police is called, every other week is like, oh, here he comes. We've gotta be smarter. Maybe we gotta think outside the box. I don't know, but I know there's an answer to this situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Jo. Item 11A, city boards, commissions, and area agencies. 11A1, Historic District Commission, December meeting. Delora?
So we did not have any applications that came forward before the board at our meeting last week, but instead we did have Alan Higgins come from SHPO. He was there virtually, and we had approximately 2 hours of a meeting with him. We had 4 members present, so we did have a quorum. Alan gave us a lot of really useful information about, oh goodness, the whole HDC CLG process, what's required. He also talked about the city council appointed study group and how that has to follow ordinance and PA 169. And so what that would do is the city council would have that group basically do a boundary inspection for all of the properties within the districts. So that would entail taking photos of all 400 properties and then detailing whether or not it felt like those properties should remain in the boundary. So then we could either reduce the boundary sizes or not. There would be a preliminary report that would go to SHPO, also to the Michigan Historic Commission, to City Council. They would do their own recommendations, and then there would be a final report that would be due within a year from that, that would come forward to City Council. So that was a lot of really great information. He did ask what we wanted to see or what our intent was for 5 years from now as a Historic District Commission and as a city in regards to that, which I thought was good, and I think something that the HDC will kind of consider as we move forward. Another thing that we really discussed, and I have like copious notes here, but I'll try to keep it kind of short, was enforcement and how that is something that needs to be agreed upon in order for this HDC to work at all. So City Council, the HDC, and staff have got to come to a conclusion of how we are going to do that. We do need to remain within PA 169, and there's other ways we can do that. Alan was going to send us some information from other communities and their enforcement policies. He was also going to send an ordinance, or a few ordinances, because I had asked him what those typically look like, because we had kind of set that to the back burner as that ordinance group. And so he was going to send us a few of those to review. But again, they all have to kind of follow the same guidelines. So he did talk about essentially that he understands the position we're in. He knows this has been a long conversation. He respects that conversation. We're not the only community going through that. So the board did pose a couple questions to him about whether, you know, if we got rid of the HDC, if we could come back to that. It is possible to do that. You have a 12-month waiting period in order to be able to do that. He said that Pontiac, Michigan had done that, so he was going to get us information on how that had gone about. Oh goodness, there was just so much that we talked about. Like I said, I have like pages and pages of notes. So if anyone wants to speak to me directly, absolutely feel free to do that. But what he said was that this has to make sense for Allegan, and it has to make sense for our community in order to continue with that, and that we can't do this only for that CLG like status. He does not want that to be like the focus. It's got to be because it makes sense for our community. So he did mention that you could use CLG grants to work with a consultant. So that was something that he did touch base on, but yeah. Joel?
And correct me if I recall this incorrectly. He did mention if you do a study, as you have existing districts, you can't have your studies premise be, we want to shrink our districts.
You can't go into it with that being the focus, because that kind of narrows that vision down. And so when you are looking at
And
each
it's
of those
it's
properties-
automatically determined a bad study.
Yeah.
They will not accept that kind of study. If you're gonna keep your districts and you're gonna study your districts, you have to study your districts. And if they come back and say, hey, the majority of these buildings are still significant, then you can't just shrink them because you want smaller districts. He goes, you repeal first, and then do a study, but you won't have CLG money to help pay for a study if you do it that way.
And so there's like 7 aspects that you've got to look at each property for: the design, materials, location, setting, feeling, association, and workmanship. And then has to be put to each of one of those properties. So it was very informative. I know that, you know, the group that was there, we had some very high-level discussions, but one of the main things that we're concerned with is that enforcement aspect of it. So what I intend to do is go back to the group and kind of have their thoughts and feelings, bring that here to council, and then maybe council can kind of determine amongst themselves, you know, before we have a big discussion about what you'd like to see as far as that goes. Because he said without that agreement, there's no point in having an HDC, because it's kind of the whole situation. So I could go on and on for a long time because there's a whole bunch of stuff, but I'd be happy to answer any questions or share my notes if anybody has any interest in seeing them.
I do have a question. So at this point, are we going to have a meeting with HDC and council, or are you just gonna go ahead and?
Yeah, we didn't discuss that again. It did not come up. Like I said, there was only 4 of us present. The meeting was about 2.5 hours total. But if that's what council is looking to do, I can definitely take that back to the group and see if it would work, if we want to do that.
I mean, we were going to at
We
one
were going
point,
to
and
do
then
that,
Jason had an emergency.
And
so-
that, like I said, that wasn't discussed again at that meeting on Monday. But
I would be in favor of a meeting. I don't know about how everyone else feels, but it seems like we have to make sure we're all on the same page before.
And we definitely got to the point where we understand, and granted, this was my first meeting with the group, so, but that there needs to be a recommendation that comes from the HDC, like a strong recommendation for how they want to move forward. And that can come to council to help decide, but. So, yeah, a lot of great information, a lot that we had heard when Alan was here in that joint session. But he got into a lot more detail than he had provided for us at that point, so.
All right. Thank you, Delora. Item 11A2, Airport Advisory Board, December meeting. Peter?
Yep, we met on Monday, discussed a little bit of old business of the airport layout plan, seeing what the status was. MDOT's forwarded it on to the FAA, and we're still waiting for the FAA to return if it's approved. New business, we talked about the deer hunt and how that was going. When then we moved into just airport manager comments, and that the next meeting is going to be in February. We don't have much on the agenda for January, and that lands on January 1st holiday. The hangars are still full occupancy. There was 4 advisory board openings. We have 1 new applicant and 2 returning, so there will be another opening. The FBO office, which is the old FBO office in the old bread hangar, that is available for lease. We discussed a bit about restaurants, or if the open property, or with the change of the ALP, the airport layout, and the closing of the grass runway, what the future holds for the properties along 222. Yeah, so we're, you know, open to, everybody was happy to see if a restaurant or something would want to go in along that road right there. And then we had a little discussion, the restroom cleaning, which is something that we'll have to discuss probably in general at all of our city properties. I know we have a contract here, and for the public restrooms, it may be something that we're, in the future, in our study session to address how is that working out? Do we want to open that up to our other facilities to have a contract to help clean the restrooms of both our publicly available areas and also maybe, I was just thinking water department and everything else. So I'm sure that'll come up in that area. The Ottawa Area Executive Airport now has nav capabilities, which was interesting, and that was about it. And actually, we were kind of wondering how Ottawa got those air nav capabilities, because that's an expensive thing. It turned out, from what we heard, was it actually wasn't that hard for them to get the approval through the FAA directly to help pay for that and get that done, which is air nav is a different way for navigating into the airport through, instead of radio frequency, it's a different setup, but it's the more modern setup that most airports have. And we were all kind of surprised that Ottawa Executive Airport was getting that capability. And it was said, it's actually, we might want to talk to them if we want to ever add that on and see how they did it. That would be a Doug question. I don't know if at the time, I don't think he said anywhere, but.
It's, the report says that
Was
it
there?
has been unsuccessful.
Yeah. At the time of the meeting, yeah.
All right, thank you, Peter. Item 11A3, Allegan Fire District November meeting. Joel?
Yeah, we just throw this packet in here when we receive them. We're going to discuss their budget with Chairperson John Cook later on in the agenda.
All right. Item 11B1, request to approve accounts payable and payroll. Peter?
It's requested that the city council approve accounts payable in the amount of $522,513.65 and payroll in the amount of $135,038.23 for a total disbursement of $657,551.88. Motion to approve.
I move that we approve the payment.
So it has been moved and seconded. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Item 11B2, request to approve the calendar year 2024 City of Allegan financial contribution to the Allegan Fire District.
Yeah, John, you can start slowly walking up to the podium if you don't mind. Each year, at this time of the year, we review the budget that has been put together by the Allegan Fire District Board. John is their fearless leader. And then we look at what the city's contribution is. In your report, you received their budget for 2024, so if you have any questions about the budget, John will be able to answer those for you. But I'll just jump to the member contributions. There's a formula that looks at population, taxable value, and the 5-year average of man-hours that calculate how much each entity should pay into the fire district. The fire district is a joint project between Allegan Township and the City of Allegan. It's been around since the mid-
2006.
2006, thank you, John. This year, they're looking for a total of $500,000 from the two member communities, $400,000 for what I would call operations, and $100,000 for their equipment fund. And then when you run the program, and John, I'm sorry if I'm stealing your thunder.
No.
When you run the formula through, the numbers through the formula, the city's contribution is $248,000, and the township's contribution is $252,000. This is a very, very neat arrangement Allegan has. In my 7 years of being a city manager here, I've had inquiries from other cities who are trying to figure out how to partner with their townships for, first responders in general, but really fire protection. And when they see what we have here, they like our formula system. So whoever put that together, kudos to those people that put that formula system together.
Thanks, Joel. Anyone have any questions? John, did you have something to say?
I would just say that our budget this year was impacted by a $69,100 repair of our roof on the fire station. The agreement of the lease is the lessor, the fire district, is responsible for maintaining the city building. We wanted to fight that, but seeing our lease is only for $1 a year, we decided not to. So I'm proud of the fire department in the way that we were able to handle that expense this year, but that's what has a little bit of an impact on the 2024 budget. You know, when you're not planning on 69,000 and your total budget in operations was 372,000 last year, that's struggles a little bit. So what we did is in the third quarter, we did not put our quarterly payment of 25,000 into our equipment fund, which we do every quarter to get to that 100,000. We're hoping, when I look at numbers and at the end of, or in December 15th of this year, when we pay we pay twice a month and see where we're at. So we're hoping to put that 25,000 back in. 30,000 we get from Life EMS by having them rent from us now, which is about a net income of about $22,000 because utilities went up, because there's always lights on and there's always air conditioning or there's always heat, or before we could turn a lot of that down. And then the Luke Bryan concert, we were able to bill for our services there of about $18,000, and that was a net profit of about 10. So between that 10 and that 22 and that 25, that's how we got to that 69 or 69,100. Joel did a good job of laying that formula out. There's some historical data at the bottom of it. I guess the last thing I should say is the other reason for a slight increase is many of you were here maybe 2 years ago, and I was here and I felt like a doomsday televangelist preacher when I was saying the end is near, because of the amount of volunteerism is a struggle for all of us, whether it's a fire department, your church, your school, whatever, your social group. And so we're having some difficulties, especially during the daytime, not so much after working hours, normal working hours of 8 to 5, but we're having a struggle. So one of the things that we're going to try, a baby step as we head towards maybe more full-time people, is 8 hours from one of our guys, 4 different guys, every Monday through Thursday or Tuesday through Friday, depending on what we see the historical data shows for when we need people there. And so that will do a lot of equipment maintenance, equipment repair, station maintenance. It'll allow the fire chief to go out and do some more proactive inspections and proactive site planning. So like when we go to Key Gas Fire, terrible fire that we just had 3 or 4 weeks ago, we know where everything's at before we get there. We think we knew where everything was at, but we don't always, because things move, and so we can develop those strategies also, so that we, you change a line around, just let us know. That helps us when we're sending firemen in to fight a fire, so we know where everything's at. But other than that, there's really no other big budget issue. I'm guessing you got the budget request page. That F on the side of it means it was funded. And then population is a terrible number to use, but that's the way the enabling legislation, or the enabling document that formed this district, uses it. And I say it's a terrible thing to use, because you can't get population data that anyone can agree upon from the U.S. Census Bureau. SEV is or taxable value is pretty easy, because I just ask for the same form from the township as I do from the city, so that we're comparing apples and apples. And then man hours is man hours. So I appreciate what Joel said, and I said this at the Allegan Township meeting last Monday night, was I dare you to start a fire department and keep it running for $250,000 a year. I mean, we're frugal, but we do have nice equipment, as you can see on the picture. And that's what we have that equipment fund or rainy day fund for. This somehow has gotten called an equipment fund, but actually it is more of a rainy day fund for roofs or whatever else happens. Any
Great.
questions?
Anyone have anything for John?
I just have a comment that, thank you guys for all you do.
Thank you. I will send that on. We're all getting older and we've all threatened to call it a career, but we're not there yet. And I would say your two city board members are a wealth of knowledge. Maybe you don't always hear from them. You hear from me, and I drop stuff off for Joel in the mail slot or sometimes at the window. But we've got Rick Day, who's a state fire marshal. Pat Morgan, who is the training officer for the fire department for Kalamazoo City Public Safety. So it's nice to have those people of that knowledge to be part of the administration of the department and the policy setters. Anything else?
All right, if there's no more questions, can I get a motion?
Support?
It has been moved and supported. All in favor, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Thank you all.
Thank you, John.
I will like to excuse myself from any further activities tonight. Have a good evening.
You too. Item 11D1, request to authorize a purchase order for Fedewa Inc. Incorporated for painting and maintenance items at the Western Avenue Water Tower in the amount of $175,699. Doug?
It is time to paint the Western Water Tower again. It's been about 18 years since it was painted. Engineering shows that, their engineering inspections show that it is time to do it. In addition, there are several items that Eagle now requires for water towers that will be updated along with the painting. And as the pictures on the screen show, the water tower will be painted in the new paint scheme that we have chosen for the Hooker Water Tower. So a darker blue on the bottom, white on the top, and the new city logo will be on two sides of the Western Tower.
Great, thanks, Doug. Any questions for Doug on this?
Just a comment. The majority of that, except for the contingency that's noted, is in that restricted fund balance for this exact purpose, is that right?
Yes, yeah, there was $190,000 budgeted for painting, maintenance, and engineering. The actual contract plus the engineering is just under the 190, but we wanted to add a contingency in there in case they find something that wasn't identified in the inspection, I think it was 2 years ago, that we had the money to go ahead and repair what they might find. So if we use contingency money, that would require a partial budget adjustment.
So you're including the engineering money. That was my question, because
Yes.
if we're only at $175,699, why do we need a budget adjustment?
The
But with
engineering was
engineering money-
28.5,
okay.
so.
Thank you, that's helpful. Anything else for Doug on this? All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
I'll support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. And moving on to 11E1, request to approve the opening of the Trestle Trail Bridge. Joel?
Thank you, Mayor. For a few meetings, preceding meetings leading up to this, we've had a resident approach the city council one time with her daughter requesting that city council reopen the Trestle Trail Bridge. Most recently, they brought the report from 2022 from Scott Civil Engineering that used the language that if the bridge is going to remain open for pedestrian use, that it be continually monitored for additional crushing monthly. and a detailed inspection should occur every 6 months. Staff has discussed this. Doug Hosband and myself, we've discussed this. We've looked at this report. Scott Civil Engineering will be back out there by the end of this year for another analysis of this bridge. But with that language that, that the structure must remain open for pedestrian use, that the caps must be continually monitored, and this was just for 2022, we feel that this bridge can be reopened for pedestrian use. And so we wanted to put this on the agenda this evening for council to take action on. If you do move to reopen it, we will place additional guards at each end so a golf cart can't get around, because right now it's just wide enough that a golf cart can skinny its way through. And so we'll go ahead and take care of that, but other than that, we think this bridge can handle pedestrian use based off this 2022 report and that language.
Questions?
What is changed since we got the report last time?
Better understanding of the words. If the structure must remain open for pedestrian use, the caps must be continually monitored for additional crushing monthly, and a detailed inspection should occur every 6 months. So I would say we have direction on how we could go about. If you want to have it open for pedestrian use, this is how you do it. And this was in the engineering report.
When is it, when is the next report due?
So they're going to be doing another report coming up by the end of this year. During the month of December.
23 or 24?
Yeah, 23.
So by January,
Yep.
there'll be another report?
There will be another report from Scott Civil Engineering.
I say we should wait until that. Because that would be updated from 22, so.
Okay.
And I would agree with Bill, that was gonna be my point, is this was done in 2022, and it said that it should be monitored, and then also have another engineering report every 6 months. So clearly, we haven't had one since this was done.
Okay.
So I would feel more comfortable taking another look at it after we had that engineering report from Scott's.
It's the health of our community members, that's in our liability insurances, so.
Yeah. Any,
What's the process? Do we table this?
That could be a process, yeah. You can make a motion to table this recommendation for your next meeting, and it'll fall under, at the same agenda item.
Will the new report be in by the next meeting?
I do not know that. Your next
So we
meeting,
could
your
table
next,
it again?
and we could table it again if we don't have that report by the 27th or 6th.
we had another question down here.
Oh, no, I mean, I agree with everything that was said there, especially if we haven't been monitoring it, but, I mean, I feel like we should just replace the bridge ultimately. I mean, I don't think the engineering report's gonna come back saying it's better than it was in May 2022, and safe-ish is not where I wanna be on our bridges.
I definitely agree. I'd like to see it replaced.
I think we all would like to see it replaced.
That's not
But
gonna
for the
take some
time
work.
being, if it can be used for pedestrian usage, I think we should table this until, I make a motion that we table this until our next meeting.
Second.
Do we have any more discussion before we vote on that motion?
Once the table motion is made, discussion is halted.
No, with every other motion, that's when discussion happens.
Correct.
All right. So can I get, who made these rules up?
Some guy named Robert.
Some guy named Robert, yeah. So it has been moved and supported. All in favor of tabling this issue until our next meeting, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nay? Motion is tabled, the item is tabled. All right, 11E2, request to authorize a purchase order for Valley Truck Parts for refurbishing a dump truck number 235 for the DPW in the amount of $38,600.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, this was a budgeted item in the current year budget. We set aside $65,000 to do the refurbishing work on this dump truck. We received a quote in the amount of $38,600, so we're thankful for that savings to do this work. We have 7 plow trucks available for winter maintenance. 2 are equipped with salt boxes and underbody scrape blades, and the 5 other ones are equipped with dump boxes and underbody scraper blades as well. So Unit 235 is one of those 5, and it's, this is a way for us to extend the life of a truck. A new one costs about $150,000. So we are recommending that you approve this purchase order.
Any questions?
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Item 11F, City Manager and City Clerk. No, nothing? All right, so item 13, Communications from City Manager, Council, and Mayor. Anything from you, Michaela?
Nothing from me, thank you.
Joel, from you?
Sure, just a few things. This past Friday was our second Festive Friday for the month of December. The Art Hop occurred. It was extremely well attended. If you had a chance to be downtown Friday night in downtown Allegan, you saw all the people just walking around. I was floored at the number of people. The library had reindeer, and there was free hot chocolate both at the library and at Tilt Restaurant over there on Brady Street. 178 free hot chocolates were given out at Tilt. They're the ones that reported numbers to us today, so that's quite impressive, you know, good community spirit. Santa will be here at City Hall for this upcoming Friday. As part of these, we do the Holly Jolly Trolley with the city's green bus. That was full at capacity all night long. There was lines across the street to jump on it, so I assume it was a fun time held by all for people that were riding along there. And I encourage council to come down and support the local merchants, you know, during this holiday season, especially considering most of the summer we had the roads ripped up in front of their businesses. Second thing, this is like the 3rd or 4th time I've been accused of sexual harassment or sexual assault. My skin is starting to wear thin. After the first one, I've inquired with council if you've heard anything, and the answer is no. I've inquired with our HR department, and the answer is no. These are public meetings where someone is making an accusation of me doing something unethical or even borderline illegal. My skin is wearing thin, council.
So was mine.
That's all I have to offer.
Thank you, Joel. Anything from you, Dave?
Nothing from me, thanks.
Mike, you?
I have a couple things. We'll try this again. I'd like to make a motion to forgive his water bill debt on this rental properties rehabbing and to not charge him RTS fees until he turns it on in his name.
I'll support the motion.
There's a motion on the floor. It has been moved and supported. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
Nay.
Nay. Motion fails.
The second thing, this unacceptable change policy that's unsigned, undated. I'll make a motion to do away with this policy.
I don't think we have authority over operation policy in City Hall, do we? Can we?
Oh,
That's-
yeah, we should. I would think we would have authority on that.
I would be completely opposed to that. I've been in business forever and I've had 2 people do that to me. One person was irritated with the business, and that's why they did it. The second person was a sweet lady that had saved this money up as a down payment on something. And she came in and we had to count it all out, which is, I will accept that. But to do it out of spite, no. And that's why this was done, was out of spite.
It was not. Okay, I wrote that. Excuse me.
Mr. You're out of order, Mr. Jones, you can't speak.
All right, but don't lie on me, please.
No one's lying. This was done, as I said, I have the same basic policy at my business for the same exact reason. To take and have someone sit there and count out the money is ridiculous.
This was rolled.
And I would like to add too, at the county, when you come in to pay at front of the court, we do not accept coin. So there are places that do have policies against accepting coin.
Yeah. So there was a motion.
I'll support it.
It has been moved and supported. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion fails.
And then lastly, with the email that we got, Joel, I don't understand the threat received. Was it a raising of voice?
Yes, the voice was raised, yelling was happening, screaming was happening. This is a public building of which 2 other entities leased space from us, and their clientele was scared of what was going on in the lobby area.
With the police in it.
Mr. Jones,
Okay, right, you're right. It's personal.
all right, Peter, anything from you?
Nothing for me.
Teresa?
No, thank you, nothing from me.
I know we'd had a discussion about the meeting date. That was something that people wanted
Oh, yes, thank you,
to look
Delora.
into. So I will be, quite frank, I will not be here that whole week, so I would not be able to make that meeting, whether it was on Tuesday or Wednesday. But I just wanted to bring that back up because it had been broached.
As it is, it's set up for Tuesday, correct?
As it is, it's for Tuesday.
The 26th.
Teresa also won't be here on Tuesday, right?
Yeah, and City Hall
Is closed that day.
closed that day, so would make sense to put it to the 27th.
I can't make it on that Wednesday.
You can't do the Wednesday. So we've got, well, Teresa's not gonna be here Tuesday. You can't be here Wednesday. Anybody else have conflicts? I'm on vacation that whole week, but I'll be here.
I will not be here either day. I'll be out of town.
I would say for staff, I mean, this was an oversight on staff's part. When we put together the public calendar meeting last year, we didn't realize that the double holiday was gonna hit us. I did get some grumblings from staff having to come in on their day off. And I'm like, yep, and it's gonna be time and a half, because that's what our policy is if you work on a recognized holiday. Whether it's Tuesday or Wednesday, that has nothing, I mean, it means nothing to myself, so.
It's already scheduled for what, Tuesday. It doesn't matter to me if I'm here or not. I'm just stated that I won't be here, so it doesn't matter.
And there are 4 members of staff that will have to show up. Ryan Berza, who handles all the cameras, because we record our meetings. The city clerk, more than likely, will have to be here as well.
Yeah. So,
So we're gonna miss 2 on Tuesday and
And
2
2 on
on
Wednesday.
Wednesday. So it
But
really
on-
doesn't make any difference.
on Wednesday, staff is not in on their day off.
Correct, so it's not paying any overtime.
Right, and we don't have to interrupt their holiday too.
So I root for Wednesday.
Oh,
Makes no difference for me either day.
I mean, to me, it doesn't make a difference which day I come, so.
If it could be a,
Wednesdays do not work for me.
Wednesdays don't work for you either? So we'll miss 2 on Tuesday and 3 on Wednesday, so. Why don't
Quite a
we
pickle,
motion-
isn't it?
We wanna,
What's the agenda looking like? Will there be much?
There will be appointments to boards that will be happening then. We will be hopefully reviewing a engineering report on the bridge. I mean, all of that's also emailed to everyone, so you can, weigh in at that point as well. Trying to think, is there anything else on the upcoming meeting agenda for that we wrote on the whiteboard?
No.
Yeah, right now, I mean, it also could be a meeting that we could probably cancel and push into January.
maybe that's a better way to go. Would anyone be opposed to canceling our last meeting in December and letting everyone enjoy their holiday week? Can I get a motion to that effect if somebody's interested?
Motion to cancel the next meeting?
I'll support.
All right, it's been moved and supported. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? All right. So a long way around to get there. Anything else, Delora?
I do just want to say that I hear you, Mr. Jones, and I hear you, Mary Jo. I absolutely hear you. And I've mentioned it before, and I'll say it again. This is the policy. It is the ordinance. And I think making a motion to forgive that, it's opening Pandora's box, unless something changes with that ordinance or that policy. And if you feel like your identity has been stolen in order to open that account, then I would suggest that you contact the authorities. They would have the legal ability to open a complaint about that. I had mentioned too that what we may want to look at as a city is when properties change hands, that we send out correspondence that explains this. So no one else is in this again, that they don't just get a bill out of the blue unexpectedly, though that is the way that it works. Maybe that a letter goes with that explains, we understand that this property has been put into your name, therefore here is a copy of the policy, here's a copy of the ordinance, and if you have questions, contact City Hall. So that would be my recommendation on how to handle this matter. Like I said, I do hear you. I understand that it's frustrating. But for me, this is the way that it's written. It's the way that it happens. So I would encourage you, if you feel like your identity was stolen, to contact the authorities. And then I would, if council agrees, direct staff to take a look at the way that this occurs. So that's just my suggestion in this situation. But I wish everybody happy holidays, and we've got quite a few meetings that will be in January, so looking forward to the strategic planning coming up.
Yeah. Bill?
Just like to wish everyone in attendance Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to the council. And, yeah, let's have some fun.
Yeah, and I would say, just as things have been said and accusations made, being on the inside of a lot of what goes on, there has been no accusations against City Manager Dye, 0 accusations, 0 anything untoward that has been brought to any of our attention as we've asked around, as we've taken those allegations and held them up in the light. There seems to be no credence to them at all. I just want to say that for the record. And yeah, I'm with Delora. Mr. Jones and I have had several conversations since our last meeting, and I would like to see this come to a resolution, and I know he would too. And so if there was legitimate identity theft, then I would say you need to take that up with an attorney and see where that leads. So if there's nothing else, I will adjourn the meeting at 8 o'clock on the nose, and Merry Christmas to everyone.